Hey, hi, hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Shannon. How you doing? Nice to meet you. I hope you're doing so very well. Today I have the mid-year book freakout tag, and if you're interested in what my reading journey has been like in 2022 so far, then stay tuned. The first question is your favourite book of 2022 so far, and for this I'm going with It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I actually have a vlog for this. If I have a vlog or videos or anything with these books, I will leave them linked in the description. This was my first Colleen Hoover and I loved it. I absolutely adored it, and I definitely want to pick up more Colleen Hoover based off of this book. In this we follow Lily, who is down on her luck and doesn't know what her next step's going to be, and then she decides she's going to open her own flower boutique shop, and that's when she meets Ryle, the handsome surgeon that seems to have everything going for him. But the only thing is love isn't always what it seems, and you can love someone even though it's not right, or even if it feels right, it doesn't always make it right. This book was so good. It was so good. It was all of my feels. I cried a little bit, which is a spoiler for our next question. Like, I really enjoyed this, and I get why people enjoy Colleen Hoover if this is what her work is like. I definitely think I need to read more from this author to know, but based on everything I've read this year, this is the one that sticks out to me the most, because it was just had me all up in my feels and I was here for it. So definitely want to read more Colleen Hoover. Absolutely loved this. The next question is totally going to call me out because it says favourite sequel so far this year. I've only read 3 sequels this year, which is shocking considering how many series I'm in the middle of, and none of them have been favourites. They've all been 3 stars, 4 stars maybe, but they don't crack the favourites list. And I feel weird putting a sequel on here that isn't a favourite, because it's favourite sequels so far this year. All the sequels I've read have been not favourites. So yeah, I'm gonna skip this question and feel very called out, but also this reminds me that I need to start prioritising the series I'm in the middle of, and hopefully when I come back to you at the end of the year I will have an answer for this question, and hopefully it'll be one book that comes up later on in this video. But the next question is your favourite reread so far this year. For this I'm going with Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. I swear Tiffany D. Jackson just hits the mark every time with these kinds of books, like her contemporary fiction, her contemporary realistic fiction. In this we follow Enchanted, who wants to be a singer. It's all she's ever wanted to do her whole life, and she decides that she wants to try in this competition. She then gets the eye of Corey Fields, a super international star that everyone knows his name, and he's like sold triple platinum albums, and basically he's hugely famous for singing. Cody takes a shine to her and he asks her to come on tour with him to sing as backup. Her parents let her go, but everything is not as it seems. This may seem like a way to get her career, but really it's not at all what she needs. And the way this story plays out, if you don't know, this is reminiscent of the R. Kelly thing, but it's not based on the R. Kelly thing. It is just reminiscent of it, and it is more about believing victims and believing survivors when they tell you what has happened to them, and it's more about not believing women when they say, well, not believing anyone when they say something's happened to them, the abuse of power and fame and fortune. This book hits a lot of points. It's very emotional, so I would probably look into trigger warnings before you read this book, but I just absolutely adore this book, and I adore Tiffany D. Jackson's work. This is the 3rd book I've read from her that has just hit me in my throat, in my chest, and I just cannot wait to pick up the next one. The next question is new release that you should have read but you haven't read. And for this question I have 3 because I feel like calling myself out. First, we have I Kissed Shara Wheeler, and every time I say this, I go to say Sarah because apparently I just missed this at the start of this name. This was a pre-order and I still haven't read it, and I've had it for like a month. I should get to this, and it's a cute queer love story with a bit of mystery added in. Like, this is something that I should be reading, but I still haven't read it yet. So this one. Next, I have Devil House by John Darnell. This is one that I actually picked up later on. So I didn't actually have this as a pre-order, but this was one of my highly anticipated, and I think this came out in January and I still haven't picked it up. And this sounds really good. Like a crime writer goes to the middle of nowhere in a house that's had previous crime happen there and starts telling a story, but then realizes that he's getting told truth from this house. Like, why have I not read this yet? It sounds amazing and I need to read it. And probably the biggest shame that I have is I still need to read House of Sky and Breath. If you don't know me, I'm a huge Sarah J Maas fan, evident by what is behind me and a tattoo that I have. This is so annoying because when this first came out, I was in a little bit of a slump, but then it came out and I tried to read it and I was in such a big slump that I was forcing myself to read it. And I don't do that with Sarah J Maas's work. I like to pick this up, enjoy it, consume it when I want. I don't want to feel forced or pressured, or I don't want to have to read it in a certain amount of time and feel like I had to push myself. I enjoy immersing myself in this world, so I need to be in the right headspace for it. I did start tabbing it, but I want to sit down and read this and enjoy it the way that I have enjoyed every other Sarah J Maas. I read all of her work physically. I tab, I love, I need to read this, and I'm shamed that I haven't yet, but I'm also not going to stress because the whole point I read is to enjoy, and I wasn't ready to enjoy this when it first came out, but it is on my July TBR, so maybe I will be ready to enjoy this in July, hopefully. The next question is one that I seen Books and Lala ask on their tag, and the question is the genre you've been reading most or a genre that surprised you. So the genre that I've been reading most of has been romance. I have only read 25 books this year, I think. I do pretty much all of my reading physically, so I don't get through loads and loads of books. I only get through what I can physically read because that's what I enjoy about this hobby, is immersing myself in that book. So I get through about 50 to 70 books in a year physically, which is really good for me, and I'm happy with that number. It just means that I have to prioritize very carefully in order to make videos and still read what I want because I have very crunched numbers. Yeah, romance has been what I've read most of this year, but that's coming from a very small pool of books. The new genre that has been cropping up on my COPILE spreadsheet is horror. I wanted to branch out and read more horror, and I'm a huge horror nerd when it comes to films. I just love being scared willingly. I don't like being scared, like, not of my own choice, but I am a huge horror movie fan and I wanted to branch that into my reading. So I done things like I have subscribed to the Abominable Book Club box, which means that I will get 2 horror books every month for the next couple of months. I've found a few horror booktubes that tend to read more horror books, so I am outwardly branching into horror, and the genre that is cropped up most this year that hasn't been in my previous years is horror. The next question is a book that made you happy. I'm gonna go with Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. I love this. This was so cute. In this, we follow Delilah, who's a photographer, and she's a little bit waiting for her big break, a little bit down on her luck. So when she's asked to photograph her stepsister's wedding, she wants to say no, but she can't not say no because she needs the money. So she goes, and one thing she wasn't expecting was to fall for one of her stepsister's snobby friends. But you know, love has a way of blinding us all. So yeah, this was cute. There was wedding shenanigans. There was a group of women that were just really nice to follow, and I cannot wait for the sequel Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail, because that follows the sister, and we'll get to return to this group of friends and probably see Delilah and Claire. And I just think that this was really well done, and I cannot wait for the sequel. It made me happy. It was funny and cute, and I am definitely here for this and cannot wait for the next one. Next question is a book that made you cry, and I already answered this with It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. Yeah, like this made me cry. I am really easy to make cry outside of books. Like I cry quite a lot. I'm quite an emotional person, but in books it's harder for me to cry. I don't often cry at books. This made me shed a tear, and I'm not mad at it. It made me feel a lot of things. So this is what I'm picking for. This is the only book that made me cry this year, so that it's the only thing that I can pick. Well, I guess I could cheat and say that this made me cry because I reread this at the start of the year and it did make me cry. But I'm not going to cheat. I'm going to go with something new that made me cry, and that is It Ends With Us. The next question is most anticipated for the second half of the year. I will be having a most anticipated video come up soon, so if you're interested, subscribe and hit the bell so you're notified when that video comes out. But it is very much part 2 to my part 1. It is a little bit late because I suck. But that will tell you more in detail what I am hugely excited for. But just off the bat, we have The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. This is a Carrie retelling at a school's first integrated prom. Sounds amazing. It's Tiffany D. Jackson. I need this in my life. This is a pre-order for me. I cannot wait for this book. I'm so excited. And then following that, we have It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. This is the prequel to It Ends With Us. I'm pretty sure it's the prequel. But again, it follows the same characters in the same world. So obviously I'm going to read this after raving about It Ends With Us. So that's the next one. Also, we have Mina and the Slayers. This is the sequel to Mina and the Undead. Mina and the Undead was such a fun YA paranormal, like, murder mystery book, and I was very invested in the characters, so I will be interested to see where the characters go next. And we have 2 books that I'm very interested in that are also pre-orders. We have The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager and The It Girl by Ruth Ware. These are obviously very hyped mystery thrillers, so I have a feeling a lot of people will be highly anticipating these for the second half of the year, but I may as well throw them on here as well, considering I have pre-ordered them both. Next question is my biggest disappointment, and drum roll please. That goes to Hyde by Kirsten White. I don't have this book anymore. I did have this book. I actually unhauled it to my friend Seffi because I hated it. No, it was a 1-star read. I did not have a good time with it. This was a 250-page book that took me 2 weeks to read. I dragged myself through it just because it's a book club pick for multiple different things, and I wish I didn't. It was a waste of time. This book is pitched that you would go to an abandoned carnival and all you have to do is be the last one to stay hidden. If you are, you get a cash prize. Thought this was going to be like a slasher. I thought this was going to be killer chases down kids and you don't find the ulterior motive until the end. It was nothing like that. This has a supernatural element to it. I thought it was going to be first person narration. It wasn't. It was third person, and also I thought it was going to be following the main character Mac. Because this was third person, it followed multiple characters. I didn't like the way the story was told. I didn't like some of the language, some of the throwaway comments that was used in this book. It just didn't sit right with me. I think this could have done with more edits and could have been more plotted better. I feel like this could have been plotted better. The bones of the story could have been good. Like, I think it's just the synopsis didn't match up with the plot, and then everything else was just a bit messy. This book was not for me. Again, my own opinion, but if you're interested in it, then feel free to give it a try and let me know in the comments what you think of it. But I didn't like this. This was my biggest disappointment, and I've unhauled it already. Next, we have biggest surprise for this. I'm going with The Martian by Andy Weir. I don't read a lot of sci-fi, and if I do, it tends to be fantasy sci-fi. I think that's like a hybrid genre, or a dystopian sci-fi. I've read quite a few of them, but I don't tend to just read straight up sci-fi. So this was a challenge to find something that I would be interested in reading. I enjoyed the movie The Martian, so I thought I may as well give the book a go. I loved this. I listened to this on audio, and it is narrated by Will Wheaton, who done a fantastic job. This book was so much more than I thought it would be. It follows Mark, who is stuck on Mars, and he has to find ways to survive on a planet that's not being able to be habitual to people, humans, and he only has to last 4 sols, which turns out to be like 4 years, in order for him to be rescued, which is a long time when you're stuck on Mars, a planet that grows nothing, and you only have enough supplies to last you 2 years. This book was funny. It was interesting. It wasn't overly complicated to the point that I didn't understand the science. It was well explained. I just had a really good time with this, and I definitely think I would pick up more Andy Weir in the future. And I think this is such an interesting thing because it wasn't a book that I was outwardly excited for, but I ended up giving it 4 stars. I really enjoyed this, and I think next I'm gonna pick up Artemis, I think. But the author has a new one. I will put the cover on the screen, but I definitely think I will be interested in reading more from this author, and I'm glad that I gave this a chance because I ended up getting a 4-star read out of it, and it just shows that you never really know your reading taste because it's always changing and evolving, and things can surprise you. So I'm very happy that I read this. The next question is an author you would like to read more from. I have a few. I'm going to start with Kelly Armstrong. This is the 3rd book in the Otherworld, Women of the Otherworld series. I really enjoy these. I think Kelly Armstrong has a talent for writing things that keeps you addicted. Like, I fly through these. These aren't little books. They are mass market paperbacks though, but I fly through these and I have such a good time with them. The characters are well written, the world is well fleshed out, like the action is great. It's just, I don't know, it's just like a cozy supernatural vibe. Like, it literally is. Like, I sit down with one of these and all I want to do is put on the fire, grab some coffee, put my tartan blanket over me, and feel like at any moment a supernatural can come busting through the door. Like, these are like spooky, cozy, supernatural mysteries with lovable characters that you follow throughout this series. So I definitely want to read more from this author, definitely want to read more in this series because I'm just having such a good time, and I think their writing is very entertaining. Next, obviously you already know, is Colleen Hoover. I'm gonna read more Colleen Hoover this year. I recently purchased Ugly Love. I have It Starts With Us on my most anticipated for the second half of the year. This is gonna happen, so I may as well just tell you to make it official for this question. This is an answer. And next we have Stacey Willingham. She wrote A Flicker in the Dark. I absolutely adored this book. This was a really good mystery thriller, and it was more psychological than anything else, which tends to be one of my favorite things in thrillers. I think this was just really, really well done. In this, we follow Chloe, whose dad was a serial killer, and she then has to deal with the effects of this in her adult life. She has become a therapist to help people deal with their trauma, but then girls start getting murdered again, and everything is brought to the surface for her. The description and portrayal of mental health in this is really well done. It is very psychological, and there is a lot of things that you're kind of walking on eggshells around, but that's the whole point of this book. Also, the twist was well done. I really enjoyed the twist. I do believe this author has a book coming out in 2023, and I will definitely be picking it up because I'm pretty sure this was a debut. I can't remember if this was a debut or not. Yes, it is. This is her debut novel, and for a debut novel, this was fantastic. So I cannot wait to see what this author does. Next is Most Beautiful Cover, and for this I'm going with Medusa by Jessie Burton. I mean, not only is this stunning, the back is also stunning, but when you see this naked, go tell me that's not beautiful. I just love it. I absolutely love it, and I love having it on my shelf. I gave this 5 stars. The artwork, the story, everything about this was just exactly what I needed at the time I read it, and it is so beautiful. So I'm so happy to have this on my shelf. Also, thank you, Sephi. This was a gift from Sephi. So this beautiful edition on my shelf is all down to you. So thank you again so much for not only giving me a 5-star read, but giving me this beautiful book to display on my shelves. Next, we have books you would like to get to by the end of the year. So I have the Literally Dead books that I would like to get to for the book club. I'm behind. I have Razorblade Tears, All Her Little Secrets, The House Across the Lake, and also What Moves the Dead. That is the ones that have been announced. That is the ones that I would like to get to by the end of the year. This will continue on the more they get announced. I would like to read the majority of this book club because I want to see how I get along with it. It's also really fun to participate in the live shows. I have the merch, and now I just need to read the books so I can participate. And yeah, like, I like the picks. This book club is probably one of the book clubs I've found to closely match what I would like to pick up anyway. So picking these books up aren't a big deal to me because a lot of them are books I would have probably picked up myself, which is a really nice thing. So I would like to get to all of the Literally Dead book club picks. Then apart from that, I would like to get to Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare. I do have it right here. I have this beautiful edition. I had put this on so many TBRs and I just never read it. And I know the third one's coming out and I should probably read this one before the third one comes out. But my reading tastes are changing. So I'm going to put this down. And I would probably need to read the Chain of Gold again in order to enjoy Chain of Iron to its full extent. But my reading tastes have been changing recently and I've been reaching for other things. I tend to be reaching for romance or thrillers or horror over fantasy, which is interesting considering I read a lot of fantasy when I first got into booktube, and I still adore fantasy. I just read it slightly less because I feel like I need to be in the mood for it, or it has to be a specific kind of fantasy. But I do feel like I need to read that by the end of the year because I really enjoy Cassandra Clare's historical works over her modern works. So I do think that I will absolutely love this trilogy because I absolutely loved the Clockwork Angel trilogy. That's what it's called, right? The Infernal Devices. I cannot believe I just forgot that. So I do have full faith that I will enjoy this trilogy because it's a runoff of The Infernal Devices, one of my favourite trilogies ever. So hopefully. The next question is your favourite video you've made so far this year. and I would have to go with the Falls Boys vlog that I done. This was a rereading favourites vlog. I had so much fun making this video, reading these books that I had previously 5-starred and absolutely loved. I just had so much fun. I'm really proud of that video. I managed to read the books that I wanted to read, and I managed to recapture that moment of just love for Penelope Douglas and the love I had for this series originally. Even though they didn't come out as 5 stars upon reread, they are still favourites because of the nostalgia. But I think rereading favourites vlogs is something that I would really like to do again in the future, because it's something that I find really fun, and it also doesn't take a lot of work to vlog rereading favourites. I think vlogging takes a lot of work, but it's not as much work when it's rereading because it's something that I enjoy doing. So yeah, this is my favourite video so far this year, and I would like to make more of them. And finally, the last question is new creators that you've been watching. For this, obviously, I'm going to recommend my friend Effie over at What Effie Reads, because always, always link down below, always recommend. I also found Jordaline Reads. I found her, she's amazing. I absolutely adore her channel. She's gorgeous and just love the aesthetic that she creates over there on her channel. It's such a vibe, and I just really am glad to be part of her community. So yeah, also I got a lot of horror recommendations from her, but I'm kind of scared because this was something I was really looking forward to, and then Jordaline says that it was utter shit. So I'm worried. I'm so worried now, but I'm still gonna read it and see how I get on with it. But like, I'm worried. But I also have taken a lot of recommendations from her channel, and I'm very happy I thought that was gonna fall. And I'm very happy that I found her. I think the only other people that I have found have not really been in the booktube community space. Possessed by Horror is a horror channel. She reviews films, but also she does have a couple of book videos where she is reading or rating her horror reads of the year, and I really enjoy her channel and her content. I take some of her reading recommendations. I take some of the books she's read and put them on my own list, but also I take a lot of movie recommendations from her, and I would highly recommend checking out her channel. And I think, apart from absolutely devouring FlossTube, because I just started cross stitching and I am loving it, I think I'm gonna make a FlossTube video on my channel. I think it might be something I'll do like once a month. Just because I am absolutely loving this hobby. It is so calming and relaxing, and it helps my anxiety like a lot. So I think this is something that I might add to my channel. I wasn't 100% sure, but like, it's my channel, and I think I can do like, I can put up what I want. If you're not interested, you could always skip a video. But I want this to be like a time capsule that I can look back on and be like, oh yeah, that's when I was like absolutely like insane for cross stitch, or that's when I was absolutely bombarded with books, you know. Like, I want it to be a time capsule I could look back on and just remember. So yeah, I think I'm just going to keep all of my videos, no matter how different or how off topic they are from booktube, I think I'm just going to keep them all on this channel and hope for the best. But at least I know there's a place for me to go back to and look on and see everything. So I think that's all I have for you today. This felt like a very long video. I feel like I've just ran my mouth. But I should probably go and do something with the rest of my day. I do not know what. Probably cross stitch, maybe read a little bit. I do not know. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so very much for watching. Remember to stay safe, happy and healthy, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Pick it up from the